Hi, hello, and good afternoon. I would like to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about my role and what it is I do for WP Role. So first out, my name is Ivan, and that's kind of a fancy way of saying Ivan. So I'm Ivan. I've been here at Role for a couple of 3 weeks now, but I've had a fairly long career in food safety. So you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what is this food safety thing? So, food safety really is about understanding the risks associated with food and how consumers might react to food that has become potentially contaminated. So, really, in a sense, there's two areas that myself and my team focus on to make sure that we deliver wholesome and safe food to both our customers and our consumers. In other words, the people that eat our food. And I guess if you think about it, I'm a consumer myself. I'm sure most everybody is. And we want to know that when we open a bag of food or we purchase, a beverage from a supermarket or a restaurant or wherever, that this food is not being contaminated. And of course, you can imagine there's bacteria, there's also physical things that could contaminate food, nuts, bolts, plastic, wood chips, anything bad that gets into food that could affect us. But there's another aspect to food that is also something we try to mitigate, and that's where maybe some no good person or somebody up to no good could purposely contaminate food. So really those are the two things that we focus on is unintentional contamination. That's where on accident food could get contaminated during production or manufacturing process, but also to understand the risk around intentional contamination. That's where people might do this on purpose. Obviously, the key pieces there are we comply with our moral and our commitment to customers in terms of providing the safe and wholesome food I spoke about earlier. But the other piece too is that really there's a legal component. In other words, food is a regulated item. And because of this, we fall under very specific legal definition, which is managed and really we're under scrutiny from the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And of course, there's very specific code, which I won't go into, but there's very specific code requirements under regulatory that we obviously by law are required to comply with. And then there's another aspect too, and that is in order to fulfill, again, a customer requirement, we actually do have a certification body through which we are audited. So we do get auditing where we'd have a third party person come and spend 2 or 3 days with us and then verify that we actually have processes in place that we comply with to ensure that our products remain, both legal compliance, regulatory, and of course our ethical and our customer commitment to that safe and wholesome food. Anyways, I hope that wasn't too much of a mouthful, but I've had a really wonderful experience working with the quality team and of course the team that help us in getting to that food safety goal. And ultimately, it really comes down to everybody, every individual that works at WP Role, that they have a role to play and that they too are committed to food safety. And it could be simple things, hand washing, wearing the appropriate barriers, gloves, aprons, etc., that make sure that we don't unintentionally contaminate the food. And obviously your commitment to attending trainings, to follow the rules even when nobody's looking. So anyways, enough about that. It's been good chatting to you. And of course, if you see me out on the floor, you have questions about safety, food safety, anything that I can provide some insight, I'll be happy to do that. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Kathy in sales. On March 8th and 9th, we attended the Southeastern Produce Council Food Show in Tampa, Florida. Ashley, Chloe, Kelly, and Wayne Rawl, Gary James, Tanika Jeter, Chad James, and myself attended. It was a record-breaking show with 3,400 people checking in and 700 plus buyers in attendance. We had a booth and welcomed everyone to try our dip. We talked about the saute kits, dips, and what is growing on at WP Raw. It was a great turnout, had lots of our customers stop by to say hello. There were 2 educational seminars on Friday and a keynote speaker before the show on Saturday. The keynote speaker, Kurt Warner, a former NFL quarterback, discussed his journey from stocking shelves at Hy-Vee to winning the Super Bowl. The second educational seminar was titled The Power of Produce. 2024 consumers will be looking for value. If you don't give value with higher price, you will lose that customer. Fresh produce inflation is mild versus other. Frozen in particular experienced high increases. Fresh produce saw a 1.6 increase versus a year ago. Produce had one of the best performances, but focus on money-saving measure hurt units across the board. Produce saw a 1.5% increase in dollars and flat on units, whereas other categories did see price increase but dropped in units. Produce has grown $16 billion since 2017, and unlike most departments, pounds remain ahead of the 2019 levels. 83% of consumers are making changes to fresh produce purchases. 35% buy more on sale, 25% buy produce that lasts longer for less waste, and 24% buy less produce the amount. So instead of a whole bag of oranges, maybe they're only buying 2 or 3. The outlook for 2024 was information is key, communication from the farmer to the buyer, the good and the bad. Some big challenges will be weather, labor, convincing consumers to buy more, and some of the biggest opportunities will be health, diet, regenerative agriculture, partnership with growers, and understanding what goes on in the fields. Thanks.
Hello, WP Raw and family. My name is Mary Jenkins. I am repack line lead, and we have been struggling for a while because we didn't have enough people on our staff. Well, now we are fully staffed and we are ready to go. We're gonna make sure all orders are done and send them out on time. Thank you very much.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Julio from the Safety Department. It's a beautiful day here in Pillion, South Carolina. And for today's Take 5, I wanted to talk about the Heimlich maneuver. I also want to give a big thank you to Pablo Acosta Martinez. He's an employee at Benel, Florida, that actually used the technique to help one of his coworkers. And the Heimlich maneuver is actually a technique that first responders and anybody who's trained in first aid to help somebody whenever they're choking. Sometimes they could be either eating too fast or not chewing the food properly, and they'll end up choking. And they use the technique to help them remove the food that's stuck in their throat. And I also wanted to give an example on what the Heimlich maneuver looks like. So I'm going to be using this test dummy for this video. So pretty much what you would have to do is you would look for their belly button, and on top of their belly button you would make a small fist, and you would give a couple of compressions right here. 1, 2, 3, and you'll do a couple of these. And you can also help the employee by patting on their back like this, and you would probably have to repeat that until the food comes out. And that's what the Heimlich maneuver would look like. One of the things to take into account is that sometimes if the person that is choking is either pregnant, you would not apply it exactly like that. You would actually, instead of pressing right here, you would have to go under the near the breastbone and do the compressions there, like that. Also, if the employee is choking and he's a little bit bigger, or either the person applying the Heimlich maneuver is really small and if you can't get their arms around, you can help them with a chair or find something that they can lean themselves and do a self Heimlich maneuver. And you would just give them an assistance like that to where they can try to remove the food themselves. And now we're gonna go to a video where Pablo Acosta Martinez will actually explain what happened.
Hello everybody, Jim Kennedy here from Transportation Northeast Driver Manager. Getting with you guys to talk today a little bit about spring driving tips. Now, I know a lot of times winter is considered the more treacherous time to drive, and it can be, especially in the Northeast, but I think it's also important to know some things about spring driving and what you can run into on the road during that time. So my first point of that will be road construction. Now, in the South, there is a lot bigger of a window where they tend to do road construction because the weather stays nicer for longer. In the Northeast, I know from living there that they tend to schedule everything in the spring and summer because they know the rest of the year might not be okay enough conditions to work in outside and fix the roads. So a lot of things that road construction will do is cause debris in the road. A lot of times there will be a lane shift in the road that wasn't there before. A lot of guys that are used to running the same route, same way every, couple times a week, that can be a sudden change. So you need to look out for that. And check your tires. I say a little more frequently, especially when you've come through some road construction, because a lot of times there'll be a stray nail, some stray rocks, something. You might have to protect your windshield or look out for windshield cracks. So that is one spring driving issue that you can run into. Another one is heavy rain. Now you say heavy rain, not so hard to deal with, but what you got to do is make sure definitely make sure that your windshield wipers are in good condition. You want to be able to see through some of that heavy rain that we get down here and pretty much everywhere in the spring. Spring rain is definitely a concept that is, out there, and it does tend to rain a lot more during the spring, all over the country, basically, Northeast, Southeast, wherever you're going. So make sure that your windshield wipers are in good condition. If they are not, take your truck down to the shop and see if they can get you some new ones. And the last thing I want to bring up about spring driving is standing water. Now, with that rain I just spoke of, you will get a lot of standing water in the roads, potholes. Sometimes it'll just accumulate on the side if there's poor drainage. So what I would suggest for that is, if you can avoid it, if you see it coming up in front of you in enough time where you can get into another lane, by all means do that. Just make sure it's not the hammer lane. And if you cannot avoid it, you don't see it come until it's right on top of you or right underneath you, slow down. Don't slam on the brakes, just let off the gas, slow down, go through it. Hydroplaning, while is not as common with our heavy trucks, it can still happen, and also in your personal vehicles. And that kind of goes along and ties in with checking your tires, because the better tread you have, the better you will be able to deal with the standing water and have less of a chance of hydroplaning. I'm also going to add to this with the changing time, daylight savings time and whatnot. The sun tends to come across your vision a lot of times more when it's heavy traffic times. I've noticed, like, between 4 and 6 in the afternoon and between, probably 7 and 9 in the morning, you'll get the sun potentially more directly in your face. Now, sunglasses, as long as they're not too dark, are a good option. Also use your shades. But I will also say with that, and some of the drivers know that, make sure your shade is not blocking your inside camera, because while some drivers feel like that is a bit of an invasion of privacy, you know, we don't look at the camera footage unless something happens. And if something happens, we want that camera footage. You want that camera footage out there. So that's all I have for now. Be safe out there. Enjoy the great spring weather when you can. And, you know, summer's coming and that heat's coming. So enjoy the spring weather while you can. Thank you.